What's going on, guys? My name is Austin, and I'm bringing you today's Daily Dose as we jump into the series of being not of this world. And I did want to take a real quick break to highlight the fact that at this point, the Dodgers may have inevitably won the World Series, and that's so painful to me as a Padre fan. But I understand that there's a lot of people that are very happy about that. Or the Rays have won, and yay, that's good for baseball. But I love this idea that as sports fans, we take so much ownership of our teams. And when a team does well, we celebrate and we're like, we won the World Series. We did this. And like, for instance, I imagine Larry, who's a big Lakers fan, they just won the championship. He's bouncing around his house saying, we won a championship. And I'm like, Larry, last time I checked, you were not on the Lakers. You're not a Laker. Now, that probably didn't happen. He was very calm about it and stoic and whatever. But I love this ownership that we take as sports fans, that we are part of this team. But in fact, we are not actually on the team. And as we jump into this series about being not of this world, I think that that's kind of the attitude that Jesus wants us to take as citizens of this world, but not of it. That God has put us on this earth to be a part of this, to own this world while we're here. And what that entails for us as Christians is that we're called to love the people that God has put in our life. And as Christians, if we accepted we're not of this world, we could kind of take a back seat on that. And I think that there could be some, we could take more of a passive role in how we interact with the people that God's placed in our lives. And I think it's so important for us as we study the fact that we are not of this world, that it's so important for us to remember that God's called us to love the people in our lives. And so today, we're going to jump into Romans 12, where Paul is writing to the Romans, and he's basically telling them how to behave. And I love this passage because there's almost a list of these things that we're called to do as Christians. And Paul is working through Romans of explaining that, hey, you guys are called to a higher purpose, that we are called to something more than just being a part of this world. And that's where he gets to the point where he's like, hey, you got to live as living sacrifices because of what God's done in your life. In the remainder of our time, I want to jump into Romans 12:9. And for us, as we study this passage and you go about your day, I'm just going to read it, and I think that this is an amazing list for what we're called to do, especially in a time where the Dodgers might be winning the World Series, where it's 2020, and stuff's just going on that you can't control. And I feel like there's a lot of bitterness and resentment that we've put into our lives, especially whether whatever side you're on with an election coming up. I know it's so hard to love the people that God's put in your lives. But here, let's dive in and then let's try to figure out how we can apply that to our lives. Romans 12:9 says, love must be sincere. Hate what is evil. Cling to what is good. Verse 10 says, be devoted to one another in brotherly love. Honor one another above yourselves. Never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor serving the Lord. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer, and share with God's people who are in need. Practice hospitality. And I love that Paul's writing to us in this situation, just saying, hey, you guys live in a fallen world. You're not of this world because we're called to this higher purpose because of our relationship with Jesus Christ. But here's just straight up a list of things. And it keeps going through verse 19, where it just keeps listing off all these different things that we can apply to our lives. And so let me just read it one more time. And as we end this, I just want you to go out today and do these things. Love must be sincere. Hate what is evil. Cling to what is good. Be devoted to one another in brotherly love. Honor one another above yourselves. Never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor serving the Lord. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer. Share with God's people who are in need and practice hospitality. I think if we can do some of those things today, this week, we can show people God's love. and really have an impact on the people that are in our lives as we remember that we're not of this world, but we still take ownership as if we are on the Lakers and we just won a championship. So let's go out today and do those things, and let's see what God can do in our lives. Thanks, guys.